Hello, it's Dr. Christine Arsenault, PharmD, Functional Medicine Certified Health Coach. Wanted to talk a little bit about identities today, specifically how to let go of an old identity so you can create a new one. And, our identity, our diagnosis can really start to feel like our identity because when you have Lyme disease, when you have a chronic condition, it really affects your life. It affects every aspect of your life, the daily habits that you do, the relationships that you have, how you show up. It affects everything. And it's easy for that to become our identity. And for me, in order to heal, I had to create a new identity. And so when you have a new identity that you're creating, that you want to become, you have to give up the old one for the new. You have to give something up in order to have this new identity that you have created. And it's not easy. You're grieving something. And so I just wanted to bring some light onto that and to what that means when we've created this identity, this version of ourselves that's soon to be the old version as we create something new, and how to acknowledge how that version has served us up until this point, but how we have to let that go in order to become something new. And so for me, I had a very distinct moment where I became a new person. It was like the spiritual awakening for me, very distinct moment. But before I got to that moment, it took a lot of things. It took discipline with my lifestyle habits. It took me changing my thought patterns. It took me practicing mindfulness so I could slow down my thoughts and recognize the negative patterns and begin to change them. And it took time. It took time to build that discipline, to build those patterns and to change things. And I remember this distinct moment. I had already learned about, your thoughts and how important they are, and that your thoughts create your reality. And I knew that my words were spells and everything I said was important. And, when you say like my Lyme disease, you are identifying with it. You are, whatever you say after I am or my is really, really important because our words have an energy. We're all frequency. We're all energy. And so our words matter and our thoughts matter and our feelings matter. And it's all a bigger part of the picture of healing. It's not just a physical world that we live in. We live in multiple dimensions and realities that are all ongoing at the same time. So I had this distinct moment where I knew I had been working on this and I didn't want to be associated with somebody that has Lyme disease anymore, even though I did. And I was in pain and I wanted to complain about my pain and I wanted to say something. And I was just having this internal struggle where I was like, no, like, you're done with this. You're not going to be the sick person anymore. You are healthy. You are vibrant. So you're not going to say how much pain you're in today and how tired you are. You're not going to talk about it. And it was like this inner struggle because I was like, well, but my body fucking hurts. Like, I'm not going to deny that. Like, I'm not going to pretend like I'm not in pain. Like this is my reality. It hurts so bad. And I'm so tired and I'm so sick of this. And I just wanted to vent. But I realized like, no, I'm not. And it wasn't me repressing my feelings. And I had been going through a lot of like therapy and processing emotions that I didn't even know that I had been repressing, and allowing myself to cry, allowing myself to feel all these things. So it wasn't that I was repressing, but in that moment I was like, no, I'm going to try a different way. I'm going to try a different way. I'm not going to talk about my pain, my physical symptoms. I'm going to talk as though I am that healthy person that I am trying to become, that person that I'm imagining. I'm going to be that person now. I'm going to talk like I'm that person now. I'm not going to talk about my pain. I'm going to say that I'm in vibrant health until I believe it, until I become that person. And so it almost feels like you're playing pretend. I like to call it telling the truth in advance. So it's like, this is the version I want to become and I want to get there. And I'm going to just talk like it now and act like it and feel into it, even though my body hurts, I'm in pain, but this is not where I want to be. And so I had to make that shift. And that was like a very distinct moment where I made that shift and I really watched my thoughts and my words after that. And I really started putting into practice everything I had been learning. And that's when my health really started to shift. And that's when then led up to that big moment where I actually like had that sick version of myself die. I felt like I had been reborn as a new person. And so, what does it take to get to that new identity when you're in that old identity and you are just stuck, just identified with your diagnosis? Well, when you're there, you're comfortable. You're in your comfort zone, even if it's a very uncomfortable comfort zone because you're suffering and you have all these symptoms and you're miserable. You're miserable in your comfort zone, but you're still comfortable. And maybe it's more scary to not be sick. What would you do with your life if you weren't limited by your sickness? Maybe thinking about that is scarier than being in your comfort zone of being sick and being miserable. And maybe it's time to start thinking about what the well version of you does look like. Because if you don't have a plan and that's too scary for you, that might make you subconsciously hold on to that sick version. And then I just want to talk about some other subconscious things. We have benefits of being sick. And I'm not saying that people are staying sick on purpose on a conscious level, but on a subconscious level, we fall into these patterns energetically and with our thoughts and these subconscious beliefs that keep us sick. And so when we're sick, one of the things that we have to gain is attention from other people. So that is a benefit of being sick. Also, not having to do things you don't want to do could be a benefit of being sick. Resting when you need to, actually allowing yourself to do that, is a benefit of being sick. And just getting out of things, maybe it's a job, maybe it's a relationship. There are, maybe it's disability. There are benefits of being sick. And on a subconscious level, we can get stuck in those patterns. Another big one is just a sense of belonging. You find this community, you have friends in the Lyme community, and this has kind of become your new identity, your new social life. You have a sense of belonging because you finally found people who get it and aren't telling you it's in your head because they're going through it. But these people really like to tell their stories over and over, and they might really be in their suffering, and that might be the story that they're telling themselves. Well, is that going to be the story that you tell yourself, or are you going to decide to tell yourself a new story? And even you find this community within the Lyme community and you feel supported and you feel understood, you feel like you belong. We all have this sense of belonging that we're yearning for. And so to heal, to become that new identity, means you're going to have to leave these people behind. It brings up a sense of betrayal, a sense of you turning your back on them. But that's what you have to do if you want to heal. You have to create that new identity, which means the old identity has to give. Something has to give. And so I invite you today to just start thinking about that. Start thinking about recreating those inner beliefs, those inner thoughts, maybe becoming aware of some subconscious beliefs. Mindfulness was a big thing that helped me kind of become more aware of my thoughts, be more in the present moment, and just quiet some of those stories that weren't serving me. But we all have different ways of getting there. And if you want your life to change, you have to make changes in your life. So doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is the definition of insanity. So if you want to change your life, you have to change things in your life. It's that simple. And so you can start with your mindset. You can start with your identity. You can start thinking about what your life would look like if you were fully well. You could start becoming aware of your thoughts and your words and how you say things and how intertwined your diagnosis is with your identity, and start thinking about not belonging in that group in that way anymore and having an identity of a healthy person, and just start feeling into that and visualizing. And there's a lot of power in our imagination. Even Einstein said that imagination is more powerful than knowledge, and we create our reality with our thoughts. And so thinking in new ways can really open up some doors. It can really make some shifts in your healing. And so it's really a time to kind of reflect on our inner beliefs and our inner self-talk and see what is serving us and what is not, and really inspecting those stories that you tell yourself, because they're all just stories. We all create our own realities. So what stories are serving you and which ones are not?